I've decided that today is the day that I show you my alligator impression, because I think sometimes on days when you feel a little sick because 'tis the season and you just spent way too much money on pumpkin flavored or scented products because Trader Joe's is evil, and some days when everything feels like it needs to be processed and you want to process it and you feel really vulnerable and kind of queasy and all of that, sometimes really the best thing to do is to do your alligator impersonation. So this is my alligator impersonation. And it actually really hurts to keep your eyes open for that long. So now, ooh, ow. Ooh, that was fun. Yeah. So anyway, today's episode of Vulnerability is because I did my crowdfunding campaign on Tuesday. It went up for the love notes that I've been scattering to the four winds, and it's really been wonderful, actually. You know, I've already gotten a couple of teachers who want to build it into you know, their classrooms, which is really exciting. I've had a lot of friends write and say that they've been starting to do this already, like with their kids or just on their own. One of my friends just texted me some of the love notes that she was putting around work today, and that's phenomenal. That's exactly what I wanted with this, and I'm really excited about that. But it's also, you know, it feels very vulnerable to put a project that I'm so excited about up on the internet in such a public sort of a way. And so, you know, it's so obvious, you know, how close I am to the sort of arbitrary money goal that I set out. You know, and one of my big things with this particular goal was that the goal wasn't to raise the amount of money that I laid out, although of course that would be wonderful. That would help a lot. But the goal was to, what was the goal? Now I don't even remember the goal. What was my goal? Damn it, this is what happens with goals sometimes. The goal was to do it. The goal was to do it. The goal was just to put it up there and do something that really did kind of terrify me, which this crowdfunding situation does. You know, I laid out my 10 things, you know, in the month, 5 weeks that I've had this project, and 4 of them are already done or in process, which is really exciting. I have my training plan for the marathon, which I'm running in the end of March, and it has fire hoops. There are marathons with fire hoops and people who hand out shots of coffee, and apparently there's also a DJ that rides a dragon. I don't know how that works, but it sounds awesome. So I'm doing that, and I've done the San Francisco love note scattering, and that has turned into the crowdfunding, so that's 3 of them. The 4th is the New York trip, which is also kind of terrifying because the maelstrom of disaster that hit last time I was in New York with the hurricane, and the father being in the hospital, and then the mother being in the hospital, and all of the things happening at once while I was stuck on Staten Island without power. So, you know, and all of those things are a little bit nerve-wracking in their own rights, but really the crowdfunding was the one that was feeling the hardest for me. And in some ways, putting it up felt easier, and in some ways it felt a lot harder. And of course, you know, harder in ways you don't expect necessarily. You know, and one of my goals with this project was to be really open about, you know, those vulnerable places when you're doing things that push your edges. And my edges are definitely getting pushed because I've sort of historically had a big problem with money for doing things that I love, you know, because it doesn't feel, I guess I have Puritan roots buried in there somewhere, because, you know, I just feel like, oh, I shouldn't be paid for these things because I enjoy them. But I do believe that we tend to enjoy the things we're good at, and we tend to enjoy the things that we really should be doing. And since this is the world, you know, you do need money to live in it. And I think that you should, you know, I think everybody should receive money for, you know, and support for the things that they're good at and that they should be doing in the world, because I think that's the best way to a happier world, is to have everybody doing the thing they should be doing. Everybody has it. And everybody should be, you know, supported as they do it. But that's kind of an out there concept in some ways. And so, you know, it definitely feels uncomfortable for me. So as I do this, I'm really slamming into that brick wall of where that is uncomfortable for me, you know, where the things I love, and the things that I feel I'm good at and can really contribute with, you know, where that intersects with money and living here in this spinning blue orb, that gets tricky. And so here I am, you know, and I'm just trying to notice how I'm feeling about it and just look at that. And I mean, by looking at that, I really mean judging that, because I'm becoming the queen of micro judgments right now. I'm judging myself for everything I'm doing, and I'm micro judging that judgment. And I'm seeing now that this video is getting very long, so I'll probably wrap it up. Maybe it was the alligator impression that really pushed it over the edge here. Perhaps I should have done a separate video for alligator impressions. But I only have one impression, so it wouldn't have been a very long video. That's not true. I can do a Miss Piggy. I'll show you my Miss Piggy.